Local stories, local people. We're taking you inside Western Mass news. It's the Even Better Western Mass podcast with Dave Madsen.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Even Better Western Mass podcast. Well, here we are, Christmas week 2020. I wasn't even sure we were going to make it this far this year, but we have. Hope you're doing well on what I know is a very hectic week for pretty much all of us. And of course, add in the snowstorm that we had last week, 12 to 18 inches of snow, depending on where you live. And well, it's winter here in Western Mass. It's the shortest day of the year. It is the first day of winter, the day this podcast drops. And of course, a day where we don't see a lot of sun. We're going to focus this week's podcast on solar energy. My guests are Jason Laverty and Scott Longley of SolaBlock. Now, SolaBlock's a company based in Easthampton that is working on really the next direction in solar energy. SolaBlock brings the entire building into renewable energy production. The company was founded to address the need for wall-mounted solar where conventional solar modules are poorly suited. SolaBlock's solar wall systems offer a transformative vision of the future. Jason, Scott, thanks for being part of the Even Better Western Mass podcast. Good to see both of you on this week of Christmas.
Yes, thanks for having us, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You know, this is an exciting thing. Jason, I've been talking to your dad a lot about this, and we've talked before about having him on here to talk about this concept of that you've come up with. Let's talk about SolaBlock, and for folks who may not be aware of it, exactly what it is.
Yeah, so SolaBlock is a vertical masonry solution that came to fruition from myself and my co-founder, Patrick Quinlan. Pretty interesting story. It happened kind of around 12 years ago, around this time of year, actually Thanksgiving. And we were out at my uncle's house, and Pat showed up, and we just started talking about this. And he came to me looking into my masonry background and asking me for some advice. And kind of stirred the pot with this, and here we are 12 years later with a functioning prototype and getting ready to go to market. A lot of testing, a lot of blood, sweat, and beers over this one, Dave. It's been very interesting.
I like that, blood, sweat, and beers. Let's talk about it. I mean, it's solar power, but in a unique way.
Yeah, it takes the conception of producing solar energy and it puts it in the vertical platform. And it's also integrating it into a masonry block. So you can look at a standard building that has any brick veneer, like a high school or university, hospital buildings, and think of that wall as just being a brick wall. Now we're introducing it to the platform that, yes, you're still going to have the masonry, but that wall is going to start generating electricity for use at the building site. So we're very excited about this and getting ready to go.
Scott, where do you play in on all this?
Good question, Dave. So I'm a relatively recent addition to the team. So the original idea, again, came from Pat Quinlan. Pat was a co-founder who actually was a renewable energy advisor for President Clinton. And so we like to say Pat's the green of the green energy of SolaBlock. If you cut Patty, he bleeds green. We like to say Jason's the block of SolaBlock because of his masonry background. I was the guy that got brought onto the team to help figure out how to get it made. You know, they had this great concept, they had this amazing vision, but they needed a way to get it done. And so I was kind of that third leg of the stool who joined the team again about a year and a half or so ago. But my background is primarily in manufacturing and supply chain, and I knew a lot of the local manufacturers. So when Jason and Pat actually came to the angel investment group that I was a member of and advising, you know, they were pitching to invest money, and they said, you know, here's the product. What we need to do is to find suppliers. And at the time I was the executive director of the Berkshire Innovation Center. And I said, you know what, guys, I know of a lot of people who actually could make what you want to have made. And so that's how we kind of came together. You know, it was that amazing vision plus the expertise of the product and how it fit into the overall trades. And I was the guy that kind of just put it all together and helped them get it in the right format. So hopefully very soon we can start shipping it to customers.
Now, what do you see in SolaBlock that you don't see in other solar systems?
So what's interesting to me about it is you see a lot of solar that's on the roof. What SolaBlock is to me, it's a very, I see there's two types of products in the world. There's evolutionary and there's revolutionary. Evolutionary is my screen got 2 centimeters bigger, but it's 1 centimeter thinner. So it's incremental changes. what SolaBlock is, it's a revolutionary product. It's taken two things that never were previously put together, or if they were put together, it wasn't successful. And it kind of combines them to come up with a brand new product that really changes everybody's paradigm. And what's beautiful about that is Jason and Pat were able to design a product that I was able to help get it made, that we can actually build that wall and give people the opportunity to have that renewable energy and have it be for equal or even a little bit less than what you would currently want to build a wall. And so that's where things really are changing, is the depth of the thinking of how to get it done, the vision of where renewable energy and grid, congestion, everything was going, plus adding that together with the ability to do it here, local. What's beautiful about our company is that our suppliers are all Western Mass based. And so we're not only building a revolutionary thing, but we're doing it in our own backyard. And I think that's the combination that really makes it for very much a winning formula for us, which we're very excited about.
Jason, has that always been your goal from day one, to make this a local operation where everyone involved in this thing was as local as you could make it?
In the beginning, yeah, we really wanted to keep it homegrown. We knew that we had a chance with that, especially when we first started off with the blocks, with working with Chicopee Mason Supply and our Ducharme block company that makes our blocks. And we started with them very early. And we met Scott, and I just said, this is going to be a home run. We can make this all here. Never mind being made in the USA product, but made in Massachusetts. It's where I've been born and raised, and it's amazing to have a potential impact, not only for ourselves here with SolaBlock, but all the incremental jobs that are going to be available to all these other manufacturers that we're helping out here in Western Mass, as well as up in the Berkshires. It's going to be amazing.
Jason, you talk about starting 12 years ago. So let's put it this way. This is not an overnight success. There's been a lot of, I'm sure, ups and downs in the last 12 years to get where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look back on it, it doesn't seem like a long time. But the steps that we took early on have helped us now, I would say. We took our time with making sure we got our patent protection in place before we even really talked to anybody about this, because Pat and I really felt we had a very, very good idea here. And we really got our ducks in a row early. And that takes time. The patent process took probably around 4 years of time. So you're kind of at a standstill, and it's almost like you hit these milestones and you just have to keep them in a line. And we're still hitting those markers to get us to launch and get the product out there, which is our UL testing that we're currently in right now.
Now, do you know, were you
Dave, I wanted to add something on that there too. We talk about the patent protection. So this was really designed here, but the beauty of the design was its simplicity. And it was so beautiful that the legal firm of Fish and Richardson, that's based in Boston, actually offered to work with deferred compensation with SolaBlock. So they actually helped put the patents in place. And this is the same firm that actually did the patent work for Apple and Google. So, they talk about going into Boston and being on the 40th floor overlooking Boston Harbor. That's where we went to visit Fish and Richardson. But they were the ones that helped us put that key thing in place, because they saw that value early on that Jason was talking about. And so that's been critical for us to build that strong foundation.
As you talk about this, it sounds like, this really makes sense, where you're putting this into the construction of a building itself, through the blocks and everything else. Were there other people working on this as you started to develop this? Were there other people working on this concept that you learned about along the way?
There was a couple of other firms that were trying to do something similar to this, but nothing that incorporates taking a masonry block and a solar panel and combining them together for a single installation. People have looked at trying to do solar panels and mounting them on vertical buildings. And we've done a lot of scientific study, especially up at the University of Massachusetts, to help us vet a lot of our strategic numbers. And one of the big things that we came up with is the concrete itself really keeps these panels running much cooler, which gives us a very good life expectancy, much longer than conventional solar. So because conventional solar burns out over time on roofs and in fields, we're able to run at lower temperatures for longer life. And that's one of the big things when you're putting it on a building facade, and asking the question, well, if it's going to be part of the building, it should last as long as the building lasts. And that's one of our biggest hurdles that we got over with this. And we're really excited about that. And also, when you think about solar in general, people think about the roofs. And like I mentioned, the farms, we don't take up any land. We're utilizing the vertical structure of the building that's going to be built anyways, and putting the solar energy production right there. We look at us as a solar plus solution.
Jay, can I give my example? Is that okay? Can I share it?
Beautiful. Go for it, Scott.
So, Dave, this is one we commonly share with people when we explain to them the benefit of the vertical nature of the product. And just to kind of jump back a little bit, we are what we like to call, we're building embedded photovoltaic. We're not building integrated photovoltaic. So what Jason was talking about is he helped design a block that has a unique feature of it that we can actually chemically bond and mechanically fasten that little mini solar array to that block so it doesn't stick out or protrude. So it truly is part of the block itself. Okay, so that's where we're almost a completely new category of product. Instead of being what's called BIPV, building integrated photovoltaic, we like to call ourselves building embedded photovoltaic or BEPV. So the example Jason and I always use is, along the Mass Pike, you have the acoustical barriers there. Mm-hmm. So if you were to build those barriers all out of SolaBlock, you have 135 miles on one side, 10 feet high, 8 feet wide. Dimensions vary a little bit, but if you were to build those all out of SolaBlock, you would generate enough power to take really the town of Ludlow, Massachusetts completely offline. Roughly, I think it was 22,000 people, 6,000 homes. So all of that could be completely offline. The land that you would need for a solar farm that would generate an equivalent amount of power is roughly 3/4 of an acre. So you would have to build a solar farm that's roughly the size of the Big E in order to generate that power. But if you built it out of SolaBlock and took advantage of those spaces that are already there, that's when you begin to have a paradigm shift. Jason tells a great story about being in Manhattan. And Jay, tell him about how you let people know about there. It kind of really got him to look at things differently.
Yeah, we were in Manhattan at a clean energy pitch. We're on the 60th floor, right in inner city Manhattan. And gentleman asked me, he goes, so Jay, he's like, how do you compare to conventional solar? I said, well, here in Manhattan or somewhere in the middle of a cornfield. He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if it's in a huge cornfield, the tilted solar is going to win. But I look here in Manhattan, there's not even any solar on any of the roofs. There's no solar. I said, we go vertical. And they were actually tearing a building apart across the way from us where they structurally leave the interior and they're rebuilding the entire facade of this building. I'm like, we could use that sheet right there and go all the way up with this. Because there's not a lot of rooftop space in Manhattan. If you think about it, you have all the elevators, the water. So when you start getting into these inner city situations and bringing in an urban solar solution versus, we live in the western part of the state. There's a lot of solar farms. There's a lot of land to be used for this, where you get into the Bostons, the New York, they don't have any concept of how they can get into the green environment. And SolaBlock is a solution for that as well.
Sure, for the inner city, but again, here too, I mean, you talk about all the land that these solar panels are taking up. What you could use that land for other purposes, as opposed to taking up all of this space for solar panels.
Right.
Dave, there's actually another revolutionary thing we found out about SolaBlock that we're also very excited about, and it's our ability to offset carbon. So because of our block being smaller and really frameless, we're able to generate enough electricity that we offset the carbon that was used to make that block and that product within 3 years. So everybody talks about greenhouse gases and global warming and the seas rising. It all is due to the exponential increase of carbon in the atmosphere. So what people are trying to do is to offset that through the production of green energy. What we've figured out is that SolaBlock actually becomes carbon neutral within a little over 3 years. So imagine you build a building, one of the walls is out of SolaBlock. 3 years from the time you put it up, you're carbon neutral and you can continue to generate power to offset things. And that's a tremendous impact on the environment. So not only do we save the space, but we also offset the carbon. So we we have a saying that we recently came up with, Jay. What was it? Connect the blocks, power the building.
Yep.
And the third stage is offset the carbon. So for every 5 solar blocks that you build or you install, you actually offset 1 ton of carbon over the lifetime of the product. And if you think about it, the potential for that on structures that would be built anyway, the potential for that of an environmental impact is huge. It's just tremendous. And that's something that we're very excited about.
Now, for the folks watching this on YouTube, they're going to see a picture of the block, but describe, Jason, exactly what this block is. This is not like taking a traditional cinder block and slapping a solar panel on it.
It was early on.
Early on, yeah.
It was ugly.
Yeah, we've been through a lot of iterations. I actually had to buy my wife a new stove because we were baking them in the oven in my kitchen here at home. So she got a new oven out of the deal. Not bad.
Hey, let me just say, turkey over the Lavertys has gotten a lot better since the days I'm going to use the baked bricks. Let me tell you.
Yeah, as far as the carbon too, that's
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we did is we're using what's commonly known as a 4-inch masonry unit, and we've taken that block and we've patented a tool during the manufacturing of that block that leaves out a small cavity for the insertion of the solar panel. And then the solar panels are manufactured and laminated at LTI Smart Glass up in Pittsfield. And then we take those panels and then we re-laminate those into the block before they get shipped out to the job site. So they're all set. They have the panels in them, and the mason works with them. We had a gentleman build one of our first working prototypes in Chicopee at our ribbon cutting a year ago, actually, Bobby Dudas. And we interviewed him after, and he goes, it's been like I've been laying these things for 30 years. So that's something you want to hear because it's just that easy to pick up and for a mason to install. And I really tried to work on that very hard, coming from the construction background I have in terms of separation of trades. So the masons lay the blocks just like masons have been laying blocks for thousands of years. Then the electricians come in and they do the wiring, which is on the face of the block, and it powers up. And one of the great things too, we've talked to general contractors where they've said, so this wall is up and running as soon as it's built. And we're like, yeah, pretty much. So they can use that energy during the phase of construction, which lowers their costs and their carbon footprint of even during construction costs. So there's so many different benefits that people look at this for different solutions and really getting this out there to make a big difference.
I mean, if you can get a stamp of approval from a longtime mason, that says a lot in itself.
Yeah.
Actually, David, it actually goes much deeper. So Jason designed things so brilliantly and made it so intuitive and worker friendly that we actually reached out and contacted several members of the local masonry union. Jason, you want to talk about the endorsement we actually received there? It's quite an honor, I have to tell you, Dave. It really is.
Yeah, so I'm still a member of Local 3 Boston Bricklayers Union. So we started there and we started talking to the team about it. We showed them the product and we got a very nice endorsement from the local president, Chuck Razzo, out of Boston. And then it got passed along into the International Masonry Institute, the IMI, which is the training division of the Bricklayers Union nationally. And they're very excited. And after COVID, before COVID, we were supposed to go down and do a big presentation at their masonry camp that they hold every year in the summer down there, a 3-week training they do. And they actually want a wall down at their National Training Center to power a workbench and do some different things where guests can come in and plug something in and say, hey, this is being charged up by the wall outside. So we're really excited. They're very excited because what it does is it's bringing green technology into an ancient trade like masonry, where they were kind of falling behind and lagging because there wasn't really a lot out there for them to get involved with the green energy and the carbon neutrality of the way construction's going right now. So,
you touched on COVID-19. Has that had an impact on what you're doing? Is it kind of diverted you for a little bit?
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting. We've been really following this from the beginning, correct, Scott? Because we had product and we were working with a testing lab out of China. So when they got shut down first, we felt those impacts very early on. And then obviously the impact here has been tremendous. We've had to lay staff off. We're really it's a tough spot for this. It really slowed testing down. Our manufacturers got, tightened up, and really being able to do site visits, and work on, bidding projects, like for instance, next week we're going into a school and we have to get pre-vetted. We have to fill out all this extra paperwork. We have to try to get in there when the students aren't there. Mm-hmm. And it makes doing those types of things very, very tough to schedule to get all those teams there at that same time.
Now, we actually, when COVID first hit, we were working in Easthampton at our office was there, and due to COVID restrictions, we actually had to shut our offices down, and everybody went back home and was working from home. So, you add that plus, as Jason mentioned, the complexity of dealing with our suppliers, their labor impacts. But what was amazing is as much as we got hit and beat down with everything that was happening, we stayed focused and we actually made tremendous progress, and we're able to finalize the design, manufacture prototypes with the help of our suppliers, and actually get product into the whole UL approval process, when we saw a lot of other people around us kind of giving up or just telling us to walk away and telling us there's no way we could survive, but we somehow figured it out and kept going. And so it's been a real testament to the team, because both on a personal and a professional level, we took a lot of hits, we took a lot of shots, but we have a true belief that this is a product that's going to make a tremendous impact here locally, nationally, and potentially internationally. And so we're very excited with it.
Now, where do you stand in that UL process?
So we are right now at what is called a preliminary desktop review. So we've submitted our designs, we've submitted our materials, and we've given them our drawings, our installation manuals, and everything. And they've made a list, and they said, you have to fix these 2 or 3 points. And so we're in the process of doing that. One point, in fact, was we actually had to order 25,000 feet of wire that is coming up from Georgia that we actually received today. So once we have those points addressed, we then drop production orders and we ship samples to testing labs in California and Wyoming. And so we have about 45 days of testing, where we like to call it bake it, cook it, shock it. So they're going to heat it up to 300 degrees and then test it and make sure there's no voltage loss. Then they put it in a freezer to minus 200 degrees and test it. And then they shock it with 10,000 volts and make sure that there's no voltage, loss there. And once we pass those, there's another slightly longer, like another week we have to do in order to get full federal approval, because we would have met California renewable energy standards of being able to survive that testing. And then we'll actually have our UL certification. So we're now looking at perhaps mid-February to end of February, but it's been a long road, but we're really, really, really close. And a lot of that is based upon the support we've gotten from our suppliers, but also from the team. So
now this is you need all of this approval before you can really hit market with all this, right? Is that
absolutely?
Yep.
Now, I think the other part of this too is that, yes, you're based in Easthampton, but you're getting recognition all across the country for the work that you're doing, and a lot of support. There's a lot of excitement out there about what you've put together here.
Actually, Dave, we have an official press release that's going to be coming out soon, talking about international recognition, which is I guess you could say hot off the presses, right, Jason?
We like scoops. This may be the first scoop we've got on this program.
Yeah,
there you go.
So, Jay, why don't you talk about American-made solar?
Yeah,
and I'll talk about the news that just came out today and the international recognition.
Yeah, so we applied to a contest, American-made solar, round number 4, which is supported by Department of Energy as well as the National Renewable Energy Labs, NREL. We've done 2 of these before in the past where we've applied, and we really haven't made it too far. This one, we actually really, I felt we put a lot more into it. We changed our tactic a little bit, and we came out and we did well. So we made it to the next round. So they chose 20 companies out of all the companies nationally that applied for an American-made solar prize. That gives us not only the great verification of the Department of Energy and NREL, gave us a little bit of cash for the bank, and then we get to move on to the next round that we're excited about as well. And the other thing, we just had a great webinar with them, is the amount of support that we're going to get from the NREL and Department of Energy team to put our next prize package together for them. So we're going to be working with the Carnegie Mellon University Institute down in Pittsburgh. They've picked us up to work with them to really vet this and help us really get any type of paperwork or documentation in for that. So I'm excited about working with those other folks, and it's a great prize for us to win here, you know, in the U.S. And then Scott's got the scoop.
Yeah. So a little bit more detail, Jay. You know me, I always love the
I
detail.
know you always go a little bit more.
Oh yeah, a little extra sizzle there, you know. So it was actually out of 158 companies that applied that we were one of 20 selected. There were 3 Massachusetts-based companies, 2 were Boston, and then there was our company here out of our little endeavor out of Easthampton. So I did want to take the time also to mention that Mass Clean Energy Center, Mass CC, actually has funded our UL research and development through what's called an Innovate Mass grant. So we've not only gotten local technical support from them, but we've also gotten local, you know, grant-related support. So the scoop, Dave, if you will, is that we actually, in the official press release came out today, we were selected as one of the top 50 construction startups of 2020 as nominated by CEMEX Ventures. Now, CEMEX is the venture capital arm of CEMEX, which is Cement Mexico, which is one of the world's largest concrete manufacturers in the world. And so they're based in, the CEMEX Ventures is based in Madrid, Spain. And we are actually one of 9 companies that is selected from the US, but we were the top company that they had selected for new materials and construction techniques. So they released a worldwide press release naming us there. And so we are very excited because not only have we received validation from the US in terms of Department of Energy and NREL, we now have actually gotten international validation for our idea, which we're very excited. We think that opens a whole new world of opportunities and you know, more room for us to grow. So we're definitely, it was a good day.
That is a good day. Now, the other part of this too is you are talking to people around the world about this, aren't you?
Correct. We've actually, it's very funny. We've gotten inquiries from the Middle East, from Europe. Now, one thing that's unique about our UL certification, and one reason why it's taken a little bit longer, is that the UL certification is basically a stamp of approval saying we've met safety requirements. Previously, it was just for the US. This new UL regulation, which was recently revised, means we meet safety requirements for China, Mexico, or sorry, for Canada, Mexico, US, but also the European Union. So as soon as we receive this, we have the ability to go into, you know, we've received inquiries from large multinationals based in Denmark and Sweden. We've actually gotten German companies who have reached out to us. So we're very excited about the potential there.
Almost like a little United Nations of solar blocks.
Exactly.
We could all learn a lesson from that. Hey, as you look at this now, say we sit down a year from now and talk about where you are. Where do you want to be a year from now?
Jason?
Wow, you're throwing me right under the bus, right out of the gates.
Hey, you've gotten this far, so I know you're going to get.
Yeah, you know, ultimately, you know, we need to be out of testing and have that secured. I'd love to be on at least 4 to 5 projects up and running, collecting data, proving theory that everything's working and the installs went well, and getting that customer feedback to really build that customer base and that relationship with the customers to make sure that working with SolaBlock, installing it, and then the end result of what they got delivered is what, you know, what was lived up to.
Sure.
And that it's not just hype. I really want to make sure that we do a very good job of supporting all of that and making that grow in a positive manner. It's almost, you kind of want to do a few of these to really make sure when you get onto these larger jobs or larger projects that, you know, we're able to deliver what's promised. I think that's, I'd love to see it. That's where we're at with this in a year. Scott?
I'm sure with the progress that you guys are making too, it's like it can't come fast enough for you.
Well, that's actually one of the things we're a little bit worried about if it comes too fast. You know, we always take the time saying we want to make sure we have the right pieces in place. because if we build this right, we believe that we have the potential to bring anywhere from 30 to 50 jobs to our partners, the majority of which are based in Berkshire County. And so we also believe that we can work with our well, Jay, can you talk about our first customer, actually, Dr. Boquillan in Minuteman Regional Vocational High School?
Yeah, so we've been working with Dr. Boquillan in Minuteman for probably 4 years now. We started when he was building a brand new school out in Lexington, Massachusetts. We went out there, we did a site visit. They were very, very excited, from the architects to the construction crew, and obviously his school really wanted SolaBlock. And that's when the UL came up, that you really need this UL to get onto these projects. So they were amazing. They actually, Kessel Booz, the architecture firm, set aside an entire outbuilding just for SolaBlock. And because it's a vocational school out there, what we've decided and the plan is that it's going to be a student-based project. So the students are actually going to be the installers. We've already been out there pre-COVID to do a training with their construction vocational program to teach them how to lay blocks. Then COVID hit and we had to stop. So we're going to be doing a virtual electrical installation with them soon. I'm probably after Christmas at some point. And then we'd like to get out there when we're ready with the UL product to finish up the school and build this little outbuilding for their landscape department. And they'll be able to charge their tractors or charge their the batteries for their weed whackers or different things that are in this outbuilding, power the lights, and get that going. So we're really excited to work really locally here and give back a little bit too.
Sure. Yeah. So to give you an idea, Dave, where I hope we are in a year is that we have the ability to build that foundation here in Western Mass to create those jobs, to help those partners that invested in us where they really had nothing to go on but the vision that we had. And if we can pay them back through the increased business, the visibility, create those jobs that we think we can do and build that here within Western Mass. And there's a tremendous core here. People don't realize one of our suppliers, High Tech Mold and Tool in Pittsfield, where their general manager actually used to be head of R&D for GE Plastics. He managed 7 sites worldwide. So he actually was one of the guys that came to us and said, let me help you choose the plastics. LTI Smart Glass in Pittsfield, they're probably one of the best commercial laminators. And these are guys that created a product called Smart Glass, which is actually in Sandy Hook and Columbine. And we're working with them to create a version of SolaBlock where it's weather resistant glass. So if you ever have a hurricane and it wipes out your grid, you still could have buildings that are built with SolaBlock that would survive that. Then you look at a little company like Cordmaster in North Adams. This is a small shop, but they do amazing work for the U.S. military. And if we can get all of our ducks in a row, create that right foundation, partner with the right people, we can create those jobs and we can do it here. And, we all believe that expertise, that foundation, that belief in that passion is all we need to really, start that new revolution. And really for us, it's just right around the corner. And it's something that Jason and I often talk about. This is what we're doing for that next generation, for our kids to make, we look at it as it's our way to not only give back, but hopefully in our own small way, make it a little bit better. So it's not always the creation of carbon, but we're offsetting them and we're helping them. So that's something that we're all very passionate about. And so a year from now, I hope we've built that foundation and we're well on our way.
Well, it does sound like you are. We've touched on a lot in about a half an hour here. Anything we've missed? Anything you want to add?
Jason?
No, just to kind of sound off of what Scott's saying, we're very excited about this and being able to train the young people, the next generation of installers, and work with a product that's potentially going to, save a lot of the planet's needs at this point. I don't know the best way to describe it, but by potentially putting this on the university level, you look at all the buildings up at UMass and just say, all the south-facing walls could be this, and it could generate so much electricity on the dormitories, the libraries, just as one little example. And then you take that and you just bring it across the country just to show what it can do. It's it's pretty amazing. It's really humbling, and I'm excited to be part of this. It's one of the most challenging, hardest, rewarding things I've ever done in my entire life. And if anybody's thinking of trying to do something like this, you need a team. You need your family's support. You need
Critical. Yep.
a great team around you to work with. And it's not a 9-to-5er. This is it. You're jumping in with both feet, and you have no idea how deep the water is. And it can be very scary, but in the same time, it's, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to learn a lot. And there's no, it's interesting. I said to somebody one time, they're like, "Why is it taking you so long?" I said, "You can't Google how to make a SolaBlock." You can't Google that.
Yeah,
So
I mean, when you think about it, you think all the inventions through the years, it's like nothing comes without trial and error.
Right.
Or error, too.
The old light bulb, a lot of error,
Exactly. Now, if folks want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
They can go to our website, www.solablock.com, and get a hold of us that way, and reach out.
Well, Jason and Scott, it's an exciting time. It's I think this is the perfect one to do right before Christmas, because I think we need something to think about sunny days and exactly the power of the sun and what it can do. It's exciting, and it's nice to know that it's all being done here in Western Mass. My thanks to Jason and Scott for taking the time to join me for this week's edition of the Even Better Western Mass podcast. Now, if you'd like to learn more about SolaBlock, you can visit their website. It's SolaBlock.com. Next week, my guests are longtime friends and Western Mass media personalities Dave Brunell and Scott Cohen. The three of us look back on the year 2020. Thanks for watching or listening to this week's edition of the Even Better Western Mass podcast. Merry Christmas. Stay safe, stay well, and if you can, join me next week.